Hi, my name is Danielle Davis and I read, write, and roller skate in Los Angeles. Welcome to This Writer's Life, where we peek into process. On the last episode, I talked about story maps, how to map out your story with key points by asking 8 questions. I encourage you to watch that one if you haven't already before you check this episode out. Because in this episode, we're going to do some practice with story maps. So remember, a story map is a way of mapping your own story so that you have the big picture and the route that the story is going to take with these landmarks along the way. But the thing is, you can apply this to any story that already exists. So the idea here is that this is a format, this is a resource, a tool that might apply to any story that already exists. And if you practice doing it with other stories that are already created, then you might be able to then internalize it and better apply it to your own stories. So you take those 8 questions and you ask them of a story that exists, and you see the way that that is already mapped out. Well, now we're going to practice doing that with a picture book. And we're going to do it with a picture book because it's short, and because it will show you how these 8 questions and this story mapping technique can be applied to any story. So I kind of chose this one randomly from my shelf because it's one of my favorites and it's sort of quirky. And it turns out it works for story mapping. So you might find the same thing if you choose a story. It's called Toto's Apple by Matthew Lavoie. This is Toto. This is the apple. The apple is up high. Toto is down low. A bird flies by. Toto has an idea. Toto gets busy. Toto waits. Toto climbs on. Toto takes off and lands in the wrong tree. Toto is here. The apple is over there. A squirrel approaches. Toto has an idea. Toto gets busy. Toto waits. Toto hangs on tight. Toto dashes off to the top of the tree. Toto is up high. The apple is down low. A leaf falls down. Toto has an idea. Toto gets busy. Toto hesitates. Toto takes the plunge. The apple is up high. Toto is down low. Dee arrives. Toto hides. Dee munches the apple. Toto is devastated. A plane flies by. Dee drops the apple. Toto knows that it's now or never. Dee grabs the apple and swallows Toto. The apple is inside. So is Toto. Toto is happy. We're going to ask those 8 questions from the story map of this story. And if you want to pause the video each time I ask a question, you can do that. So you can come up with the answer on your own if that's something you want to do. The first question you might remember is what starts the engine of the story? So in this case, I think what starts the engine is that Toto sees this apple, right? That's it. Toto sees the apple, engine of the story has started and is ignited and is on its way. The second question is, where does the main character want to go? What's their destination? And this is about goal, right? Where they want to end up at the end. And I think we all know that Toto wants to end up with that apple. So Toto's destination, their goal is to get that apple and to eat that apple. The third question is, what are the obstacles along the way that keep the character from getting to that destination, or just serve as setbacks along the road as they're in the middle of the story and they're traveling up that road in their story car? And it seems like Toto has a lot of obstacles and setbacks, right? There are 3 of them, which is common for picture book structure. We could just say generally that those obstacles are that after Toto has an idea to get to the apple, it never works out. So something is always happening where this is the time Toto's going to make it, and Toto doesn't make it. Number 4 is what does happen that propels the story forward despite these setbacks and obstacles. And I would say that what happens is that Toto keeps having ideas. Toto is full of ideas and full of creativity and doesn't give up. That keeps the story moving along as we're in the middle of it, right? Number 5 is what keeps the character in the car. They could get out at any time, but what is driving them? What is motivating them? And I think we all know that in this story, what's motivating Toto is the apple. Toto wants so badly to get to that apple that they'll do anything. It might be that Toto's never tasted an apple and wants to. It might be that apples are Toto's favorite thing. But we know that Toto knows that apples are delicious. And so that's going to be the motivation. But then there is always that point when it feels like this character is probably just going to give up. And this comes toward the end of the story, right? What is the moment that stops the car entirely? I would say that's when Dee Dee gets on the scene, right? Dee Dee shows up and eats the apple. And it even says here, Toto's devastated. So Toto thinks all is lost, may as well give up, I'm never getting the apple. But that is not how it works in the story. Things always turn around and the character doesn't give up. And so the 7th question is, what happens to revive the engine and bring the character to their triumphant end of the journey? That is when Dee Dee drops the apple and Toto makes a move, right? Toto knows it's now or never and goes for it, and guess what? Toto gets the apple, and that's the triumph. Now, in this story, it kind of has a weird reversal at the end when Toto is actually eaten, but even then, that is still a triumphant end because Toto's happy because Toto's still with the apple. So it's funny and it's weird, but Toto still gets what they want in the end. And then there's always that last question for a story map, number 8. And that question is, what is the takeaway of this story? What's kind of the meaning of it? What does the main character take away from their experience? What do they learn about themselves or the world? And there are many different ways you could look at this. I'm interested in what you might come up with. But for me, I think it might be that creativity never fails. And if you stay creative, there's always a solution, because Toto does find a solution in the end, relying on their creativity throughout this story. So there is a PDF of a story map in the show notes that you can use to apply to any story that already exists. I encourage you to do that on your own or perhaps with a class. You might choose a book that everyone has read. You might choose a movie that everyone has seen. And what you can do is you can apply the story map questions to that already existing story, just like we did here, and help yourself practice with it and get more and more familiar with this kind of structure and kind of internalize the way that stories work. Thank you for spending this time with me here on This Writer's Life. I hope you'll subscribe and join me for future episodes.
Hey! My name is Kimberly McCord-Wilson, and I am a storyteller, but probably not in the traditional sense that you might be thinking. I'm a post-production sound supervisor, and I work in film and TV. My job is to tell stories with the sounds that I create, record, and design. And comparable to the world of writing, much of the sonic universe that I create begins with a blank canvas with no roadmap. And as an artist, I often experience a form of creative block, just like you, when I have to meet deadlines or find creative solutions. And that's when I have to lean on my imagination. Say it, everybody, the word imagination. It's such a wonderful word. One of the most important lessons I want to impart with you is to honor your imagination. Let it run free and be wild. Have fun with your ideas because you don't know where they might land. There are no rules or wrong ideas in the idea phase. The onus is for you to nurture, experiment, and be observant and use your everyday experiences to find your voice and tell your story. Don't let anyone be a roadblock to your vision. With dedication, you will find your own path. Be patient, young writers. The solution exists. You may just have to dig a little harder to find it. Cheers.